What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Brazos Sports Prepscast. I'm Alex Miller with the Eagle, joined always by Jake Weiss and Andrew Tinio. What's up, guys?
Doing good. Excited for another week of high school football action.
Yeah, Andrew?
Got a little bit of an appetizer last week, kind of got things going a little bit, and just excited to see what this week's storylines, kind of how those kind of pan out.
Yeah, well, I think it was a pretty good week for the local teams. I think everybody won a game.
4-0.
And then even at the private school level, they were down pretty good down there. BV Chia beat St. Joe, is that right?
Yeah,
you were
they
out
did.
there.
So I guess
Jake,
technically,
how was the six-man experience?
It was good. I had a good time. Credit to Allen Academy. I think this is maybe the second year they've hosted their kickoff classic.
Yeah, they've had it going there for a bit.
Okay, maybe it wasn't just the second.
No, I think they've had it for several years now.
Okay, maybe more than two then. I thought for some reason in my head, I thought this was the second year. But no, I really enjoyed it. I was kind of disappointed, couldn't watch some of the other games because I think they had 16 teams between 3 days that were there. So a lot of action there, I know, at Allen Academy's field. Strangely, too, first time I've been to Allen Academy's. I mean, I guess it makes sense because it was first six-man game for me. But nice facilities at Allen Academy. I was very impressed with what the Rams got over there.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's talk about the other game you were at. You were at A&M Consolidated in Lake Belton. We'll start with the Tigers first, okay? Consol hung on, found a way to win, got a big score late. It was a non-offensive touchdown, right?
Yeah, so they actually had two in the game. Opened the game with a non-offensive touchdown. Good to have Cam Vines back. I think you talked with him this week.
Yeah, I did.
A little plug for your story there. But yeah, he opened the game with a 90-yard kickoff return, and then fittingly the last touchdown of the game, Wyatt Beavers. I think it was a bad snap. Consol may have also kind of knocked it away. It was very quick, I got to admit. But he did not look like a big old defensive lineman because he picked up that ball and got in the end zone. I think he picked it up in the end zone pretty quick there and got the score, iced the game there. Of course, Lake Belton got the ball back, but I think it was a quick 3 and out, and game was over.
Yeah, good win for the Tigers. Lake Belton's a team that might compete for a district championship over in their district. I think they're what, like Region 1?
Yeah,
which is weird.
Yeah, I want to say it was Region 1.
Yeah.
I should have asked the people from the Lake Belton Temple paper.
Anyway, Consol and College Station both, they wrap up non-district play. And we'll get to the Cougars in a minute, but for the Tigers, went and talked with Coach Schmidt earlier this morning. Like you said, got the feature on Cam Vines coming. It seems like just little details or things that Consol's trying to work out, penalties, turnovers, those kind of things that, aren't necessarily uncommon for early in the season, but are definitely controllable things that I think any team would want to get, fixed and cleaned up, especially when district's right around the corner.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny. I guess it's funny. He said the exact same thing to me after the game. So I guess, I thought that would be the big focus this week because that's what he said after the game. And it's good to know it was the big focus. I thought it might be cleaning up those controllable things, like you said.
Well, hey, we knew coming into the season that Consol was going to have a pretty good defense, and it seemed like they stood up to that for the most part against the Broncos.
Yeah, they did.
What did you see from the offense in particular, Jake?
Yeah, so, once again, a little shout-out to your story coming there on Cam Vines, but I really was impressed with him. He was real dynamic in both the passing game. They didn't use him much at running back. He only got a couple carries, but I thought their run game looked real good. They've actually got another Cameron at running back, Cameron Roston. I think that's how you say his last name.
Well, that's not going to be confusing at all.
Yeah, and they're both spelled the same way, too. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
You'll be covering I know, obviously, we always like to talk later on who everybody's covering, but you'll be covering the Tigers. So, yeah, make sure you know your Camerons there. But I thought was real impressed with him at running back. He kind of led the team there. He had a score, I want to say like an 11-yard or maybe let's see. Lake Belton had an 11-yard rushing touchdown. He had a 26-yard rushing touchdown. Real impressed with him. Passing game, still kind of coming along there. Colton Schmeller's out. Official word from Coach Schmidt was pulled quad. He's week to week. So he was out. They didn't have him, obviously, in the kicking game, which we know about. But, hey, he was their leading receiver as well from coming back from last year. So they didn't really throw it a ton. Wasn't sure if that was just kind of the game script or really what it was because, like I said, they were pretty effective on the ground. But, yeah, I thought the offense still kind of like figuring some things out. Like you said earlier, it's week 1. Still kind of getting their feel for things. But I think the offense, I feel like we always feel like week one defenses are always a little ahead of offenses. Wouldn't you guys say? I mean, that's kind of always been my kind of belief. So I think Consol's offense, they get back at home this week. I know it's a tough matchup against Forney, but I think they kind of start to iron out some of those kinks on offense and, get it rolling again.
Yeah, I think I want to move on over to the Bryan schools because one of the most interesting, I think, storylines coming into this week was Rudder offensively. We hadn't really gotten fully word who was going to be the signal caller. Jaquise did a little last year. To kind of everyone's surprise, it's Javen Jesse from Navasota, the Navasota transfer moving into Rudder. And he comes in, and I think he and Jaquise had a pretty quick connection early on. I think Jaquise went for just over 200 total yards. Javen Jesse threw for close to 300, if not 300 total yards. Extremely impressive display on offense, something that I was interested in going into the year, what it was going to look like. Just wasn't quite sure what signal caller was going to be. A fun game. Was listening to on the radio, listening to Nick Savage. Shout out Nick Savage.
Hey, Nick. We need to get him on the podcast, man. I'm going to text him.
Hey, yeah, we can make that happen. But no, was impressed with them. But it ended up being the defense that ended up holding on to the win. West Fork got down to the 1 yard line, a fumble at the 1, and Randon Cooks flips it the other way for 99 yards. And so was really curious with Rudder, was very excited to see how their offense looks. Looked pretty comfortable from the way things sounded. And that was a matchup that you didn't really know what to expect from a team they never played before. So that was one that stood out to me. Alongside Bryan's offensive line, I thought was very impressive in the way.
Hey, how about the Vikings,
offense,
man?
Yeah, the offense displayed some really good stuff, and the offensive line was a big key behind what I feel the running game alongside keeping Boone upright.
Yeah, no, I think Bryan had a really impressive victory. I mean, they went down, they moved the ball well, they scored a lot of points. That defense held up pretty well too. They're playing Huntsville this week. Huntsville's a team that the Hornets really took it to Bryan last year, and so I think this one might be a game they've had circled, getting a little vengeance. But Bryan, first test, passed the aced it pretty well, I'd say.
Hey, first time at the new stadium for Bryan too.
Yeah, over at Huntsville.
Yeah, it was funny. Coach Tellis, we and him talked, and that was one of the first things he said. He's like, I can't wait to check out that new stadium, and I gotta say, I'll be covering that game. I'm excited to check it out too, because I think the only team we had that played there last year was Rudder, because Consol played Huntsville to open the year.
But it wasn't finished.
And you were at the Rudder game.
I was the Rudder game, and the scenery I think behind the football field is gorgeous.
Gosh,
They've got the
trees.
softball and the baseball fields, and then the trees behind it. Oh, dude, it's great. I'm excited for you to take a look at that because it's so nice.
Man, looking forward to it then. And speaking of offenses, Alex, I got to get the scoop, man. Okay, what College Station, man? I hear 2 record-breaking performances. What'd you see from the Cougars in that big win over Klein College?
Well, if there's one thing we've come to know about the College Station Cougars, they like to go fast on offense, and they typically are pretty good at it. That was no different last week, right? Cade Corcoran, a kid that has played a good amount of varsity football, but never been the full-time starter. First little bit, I think there were little jitters out there. They went 3 and out. He missed a couple balls early, but once he got in a groove, I mean, he was running that offense really well, I thought. And, I mean, his go-to guy was Zach Koster. I think he's a guy we've talked about on this podcast a little bit already. A kid that, was kind of waiting in the wings last year as a sophomore. Now as a junior was a guy that they've really have been hoping would step up and take that next step as the next go-to target. And, man, he catches the ball, and he's good about turning up field and getting extra yardage, right? And I think when you have a kid that can do that and win those one-on-one battles, especially at the high school level, it's so critical, right? And then I got to say, on defense, they gave up a couple big plays, and, Klein Collins had their moments, especially early. College Station went 3 and out, and then, boom, 2 plays, gave up 1 over the top on a play action, 60-yard touchdown. Kind of a tough way to start the game, but kudos to the Cougars. I mean, they clamped down, hung in there, and found a way to find their mojo, and it paid off. So, I think that this is a team that has a long way to go, but from the get-go has shown they're a legit team that can do some damage this year. how's that secondary going to come along? I think is probably my biggest question mark for them. Braylon Wortham didn't play in the game last week, so getting him back will be a big deal for them. And they're gonna have a good game against Magnolia this week. They really took it to Lake Creek last week and scored a lot of points. So this will be another good test for that Cougar defense. This front half of the schedule is pretty challenging for them. Got 2 good games against 6A teams. You open against Austin Anderson and then Consol.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the Cougars really have to dial it in here from the get-go. If they can start 4-0, I'd feel really good if I were Stoney Pryor and his coaching staff, because that would be some skins on the wall, in my opinion.
You could also make the same argument for Consol in terms of schedules.
Oh, absolutely.
They've got Weiss, Seastad, and Anderson, just 3 in a row on top of obviously the Forney and Lake Belton games. I did get to talk, shameless plug, I did get to talk to Braylon Wortham actually on Monday.
There you
I have
go.
a story coming out in the Eagle tomorrow on Braylon, and he was just really excited to see the new guys on defense that have kind of been waiting in the arms, waiting for their time. And you could attest to this because you were at the game, but whenever I talked to Braylon, he was super excited to see the energy that guys had making tackles, making pass breakups, getting off the field. It seemed like there was an extra energy that he mentioned from that defense. So that's something that you could look forward to.
100%. And Braylon, even though he wasn't dressed out, he was there on the sideline. He was their biggest cheerleader, it sure looked like. And guy after the game they really shouted out was Thomas Herring, the fellow starting safety. He was kind of the ringleader on the field for the energy level, and took a few licks, but also won some battles. So there's stuff to learn from, but there's also some confidence to build on if you're the Cougars as well.
Absolutely.
Back there on that secondary.
Absolutely. I was at the Magnolia game in the area around last year, so very interested to see kind of these two teams played not too long ago. Now they're going to be playing again. I'll be at the Magnolia game. So I'm just interested to see what things look different and how kind of these teams go at it this time on the road at Magnolia, that playoff game there at home. So.
Well, hey, it is criminal that it has taken us this long. Win of the week.
Caldwell.
The Caldwell Hornets, baby. Stingham is back. Snapped 28-game losing streak. Jake, you mentioned it last week that they had a chance.
Yeah.
They had a chance. They found a way to do it. I think you talked to Coach Witherwax. How's that bus ride home on Friday?
Oh, great, man. Yeah, he said his phone. I was actually just glad I was able to talk to him. I was worried. I called him. I was like, oh, man, his phone's probably blowing up. Like, I'm going to be called like 200 out of, 200. He's not going to see it. He's not going to see my voicemail. But no, great win for Caldwell. I got to say, I said, I think I said, oh, yeah, it's going to come down to the offense. It actually didn't. It came down to both. They needed all sides of the ball to help them out there. But really, credit to their defense. They're down about 12 with 5 minutes to go. Caldwell goes down the field, scores. But, hey, you got to get a stop. Defense rises up to the occasion, gets their first 3 and out of the game. Good time to do it, too. Gets the ball back, goes down and scores again. And it's funny, Coach Witherwax kind of joked with me. He's like, yeah, I kind of looked at our offensive coordinator and I said, hey, did we score too fast? Because there was about 1 minute and 30 left in the game. But credit to Caldwell's defense there at the end. They got a fumble, picked it up, and were able to get in victory formation for the first time, like you said, in 28 games. So I'm sure that was a victory formation that was well-earned and one that I'm sure they're going to remember for a while. And credit to them. They took over Crockett's Field. He said they had about a 45-minute celebration on the field afterwards. He actually said he felt kind of bad because, they're on the road and they're using somebody else's field. So I don't know if I'm kind of curious. I didn't ask him this, but I'm kind of curious if that celebration ended short because they were like, hey, we should probably go. They're about to turn the lights off. Or if, it just was over and they decide, all right, let's head out now.
Yeah. Well, hey, shout out to the Hornets on their big win. They got Robinson this week. Andrew, I think you might know a thing or two about that
I
team.
might know a little bit about the Rockets. just a little bit.
All right.
Hey, that's where Coach Witherwax from, actually.
Is it
Yep,
really?
He is, yep.
I didn't know
He
that.
told me that this week, too, a little reunion. He said, he joked, he's like, I got a nephew on the team. He's one of their best players. I told him he needs to, pretend he's hurt, not play this week. So I don't know if, I talked to him Monday. I don't know if his sales pitches worked, but I guess we'll see Friday night when we get the scores.
Well, I guess he's going to have to scheme it up pretty good. All right. Hey, what's a game you guys got circled this week in the area games?
I'll let you go first, sir.
Oh,
You
wow.
go
Okay.
first.
Wow, I was still looking.
Well, don't you? Surely you've done your three games to watch column already. Probably not.
Working on it.
Working
I got
on
the
it.
3 picked. I'll go with one of the ones I picked then. Navasota, Madisonville.
Okay.
Rivalry there. Battle of Highway, I believe Highway 90, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I was going to say 190, and I was like, I know I'm directionally
No.
challenged, but we all know that it's well established. But,
Yeah, you'd end up in Anderson if you were driving to Navasota, I bet.
Probably, yeah. That's probably a good call there. But no, that's one I'm real interested in. I know Navasota took their licks last week against Sealy, so they're still looking for that first win under Coach Allen. But hey, like we talked about with Consol earlier, it's week 1. I'm sure there's some things they want to work out, and it's a rivalry game. You always know it's going to be close, and heck, I think I know Navasota hasn't had the seasons they've won in the last 2 years, but both of these games against Madisonville the last 2 years have been pretty close. I think
It was a good game last year.
Yeah, you covered last year's game, didn't you? I think it was a 1 touchdown.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not to mention, we talked about Javen Jesse moving to Rudder. I mean, they got to find a new quarterback.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think in the preseason, I want to say the battle was between, or did they have their? I guess none of us did. Navasota had their guy picked out, didn't they? Coming into media day.
I think. I don't know. I think it may have been a battle style. I don't know fully.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say. So we'll have to ask old John Clinton. We should have got John on the podcast.
Yeah, we know John will listen, so I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll get a text from him later this afternoon. Navasota's quarterback is blah, blah, blah.
Hey, that's
Anyway.
a good one though. But no, I think that's a game I'm really interested in. Point is, and then of course Madisonville. We know what they've done the last couple seasons. Interested to see if they can keep it going. I think they've won 9 games the last 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're trying to get back to that mark, and we'll probably go beyond that. So this would go a long way to starting 2-0.
Andrew?
I am interested to see Anderson Shiro, how they kind of continue this run. They played a good Crawford program that, 2 years removed from the state title. Is it Bertha? Did they win the state title a few years ago?
I know they at least went.
They went. Last year made the playoffs as well, and Anderson Shiro came in as 2 touchdown dogs and ended up winning. So that was really really good to see from them. I know Shiro is high on their defense. They're always high on their defense. They got a new DC. Looked like things were going well through game 1. They got a lot of the guys on the offensive line coming back, and so I'm kind of curious to see their journey. Curious, come back home, first home game of the year, how they're going to kind of play in front of the home crowd.
Give me Iola at Normandy, okay? Normandy is a team that I think is trying to find its way, and Iola is a team that's trying to get on the up and up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for Normandy, this is a game I think that if they were able to win could be a big boost for them moving forward. And if you're Iola, you just want to start stacking some wins before district play. So I think there's a lot to be gained on each side. I think Iola is pretty is favored in this game, but this is one that I think I've got my eye on going into the week.
Ooh.
I think Burton and Hearn's going to be a good game too.
Yeah, that's another one where that's a coin flip for me. Like I'm like,
Yeah, I think that might have been the toughest pick on the group this week. I also think Dawson and Leon was a tough game to pick.
Yeah.
I think Leon at home, they've got a good shot. Dawson had a really big win last week. I think it was like 62-0. But yeah, I'm also curious about Brazos Christian this week. I think Hill Country Christian's going to be a good test for them. They get them at home, so that's always good. I think their non-district slate is pretty solid. So, BCS rolled to a pretty good win last week. So what do the Eagles have in store for this week as well?
Yeah,
Coach Washington's got me believing, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, anytime you get a chance to see those offensive playmakers go to work, I mean, you want to have a couple extra eyeballs on that one. So
Hey, your season preview got me fired up. I was ready to run through a brick wall. I live right by Brazos Christian. I was ready to go.
Hey, I'm just disappointed that the traffic in Hearn kept Jake from getting to experience Miller's Smokehouse last week.
Hey, I went to another local establishment though.
What,
You
McDonald's?
may have heard of it. Jimmy John's.
Oh my gosh.
get this dude
Very
out of
good
here.
sandwich, by the way.
Would you
this
get
dude
the
outta here.
Slim 3?
No, that's really first time at Jimmy John's. So does that count? Like, chalk that
So
up
what'd
for
you
a
get?
W. The Lulu or like the number 16 or
Okay.
it was just like turkey. It was just like a real basic because I was like, I just got to get on the road.
Yeah, you strike me as a turkey and cheese kind of guy.
Well,
What
it
are
was
you, a
also-
Swiss or provolone?
They didn't give me an option.
Oh,
They said
okay.
you want cheese on it, and I said sure. And it was first time. I was like, yeah, whatever. Y'all, like I trust the process.
Are you a mayo or a mustard kind of guy?
I think the sandwich came with mayo, so we'll go mayo. I guess team mayo.
What about Magnolia? You got a suggestion for me, Magnolia? A go-to place? I don't think I've been there for a
Magnolia
game
is
yet.
kind of a weird town for food. Like,
Okay.
it's kind of a disjointed town.
Okay.
There's not like a true like
local?
like there's like a small little town. It's like a sprawling town though. Like
Got
it's
it.
more of an area than
Got
a
it.
town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Magnolia's kind of tough. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Here's the best bet, honestly. Go early. Just drive to the Woodlands, eat something down there, and then drive back.
That's fair.
That would be my suggestion.
That's totally fair. Okay.
Ooh, except, okay, hear me out.
There's one.
Okay, if you want to drive a little further, go ahead and just go to Tomball and go to Tejas Chocolate and Barbecue. Okay?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Barbecue joint with a gourmet chocolate shop in one place. Weirdest combination ever, but I swear to you, it is amazing.
That sounds.
I will
good.
take your word. I may go do it.
They do this sausage. It's like a chili relleno sausage, and then they make like these little like bite-sized chocolates.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it's worth the extra 20 minutes, guys.
I may take the extra couple miles to do it.
You gonna bring back
might.
leftovers?
You know what?
Really
I just might. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like, and if I
Wow.
get something to go, I may get something to go. All right.
What a nice guy.
Where are you? Oh, you're going to Huntsville.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know where to go in Huntsville.
Does he?
There's that cafe there. What's it called?
What cafe?
There's a cafe. John told us about it.
Oh,
I'll have to remember the name.
Great question. Yeah. I was
Well.
probably just gonna have a hot dog.
To be fair, last time I went to
At
Huntsville.
the ball game.
To be fair, the last time I went to Huntsville, I got McDonald's, but it was because I didn't eat before the game, and it was after games on deadline. So I was like, okay, well, I got to do something to eat. So.
All right. Well, enough of our food banter. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage heading into this week's slate of games. We'll be back next week on the Brazos Sports Prepscast.